Hey everybody, this is Sean Riley with Riley Real Estate and MassHomesale.com with this week's Q&A Saturday video. This week we're going to answer the question of, is my house worth the assessed value? So there's a whole bunch of different pricing things out there that people have access to, one of which is your tax assessed value. And people will use all these different things as trying to, figure out what the value of their home might be. So in this case, we're talking about the tax assessed value. It really doesn't have anything to do with what the current market value of your house is. It's just whatever your taxing authority. Around here, it's the city or town. Some places it's the county. Some places a statewide thing, whatever. But it's what's used to determine the taxable value of your home, which then is applied to the tax rate that you have, and that's how they determine what your property tax will be. That's all it's for. It really doesn't have a good indicator of what the market value of your house is. The biggest reason for that is there's generally some amount of lag time between the, it's a bureaucratic process, so usually when they do an assessed value, they use values from a certain time period, and there's usually a long, arduous government process to go in setting all these things, so they can often be quite old by that time, and they're also not updated all that often. Some places might do it much more regularly than others. So, if you used old data and it hasn't been updated in a couple of years, then it's going to be vastly different than what the current market value is. So currently, it's much more common to see values higher than the tax assessed value because the market has been going up a lot the last couple of years. Excuse me. So having that lag time in older data and not being updated all the time, it can lag behind what the rising prices are. But by contrast, a couple of years ago, it was almost universally higher than what the current values were because values kept going down in the same thing. It was lagging behind, and they weren't being updated enough to find that. So if you are trying to figure out the value of your home, tax assessed value really doesn't offer very much useful information. For me personally, when I'm looking at a potential deal, I often will see what the tax assessed value is, just because it's fairly easy to see if you're looking up other parts of the public records or MLS listings or something like that. Excuse me. But I really don't take into account any information with that other than seeing what the actual taxes are, to factor those into what value the property might have for me. And occasionally when I'm looking at comps, I might look at the different assessed values, because if there's a big difference between the assessed values on properties that otherwise look fairly similar, that could be an indication that there might be something that's not obvious immediately. Like when you go look at the neighborhood, you might see that there's a reason why it might be valued less. It's not that common, especially because the assessing criteria is generally not that nuanced. But sometimes it could give a very small amount of useful information in that way. This, like all these other kind of shortcut values. So we did a video on how inaccurate Zillow's estimates are, back a while ago. We'll link to that. But things like that, values you might get off of other things like Trulia or other online sites that could give you estimates. They're all generally not very good because they're just computer algorithms. They don't necessarily use the most useful information, and they're just generally not going to be great proxies. And like I said, assessed value is just another one of those. It's a piece of information, it's just not a very particularly useful or good piece of information when trying to value your house. So you could be misled into thinking it's less. Other times you might have always heard that, it's always more, and then when it is less, then that value, you could be misled there too. So the long and the short of it is, most likely the assessed value of your house is not going to be what the actual market value of your house is, but there's no guarantee it will be higher or it will be lower, but it's likely one or the other. So that pretty much wraps that up, other than, just want to reiterate, really looking at recent sold comparable houses in your immediate area are really the only way to accurately try to value a house. It's never completely accurate, things can change, and there's always little nuances, but it's really the only way to get a good sense of value. You can find that kind of stuff online. It's quite a bit harder if you don't have access to your local MLS, multiple listing service data, but you can still do it. It does take a little bit of work. You can work with a real estate agent or somebody else who has access to the MLS or other systems to be able to find the comparable sales, and that's really the best way to be able to figure it out. Using tax assessed value is not a good way, and as we said, neither are things like Zestimates. Alright, so that's this week's video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And as always, if you have a topic you would like to see addressed in one of these videos, you can leave comments in the other videos. You can fill out a form on the website. You can leave something on our Facebook page, our Twitter account, or send an email to info@masshomesale.com. And hope to hear from you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Alright, thanks. Bye-bye.